Hello and welcome. You're watching Business Today TV. I'm Sakshi Patra and this is Market Today, a show where we'll help you understand all the latest cues from the D Street, starting from the benchmark index moves to sectoral action and all the stocks that are buzzing the most in trade, and what should you do as an investment of equity markets right now. Where are the opportunities really emerging for you? All of that coming up, an expert chat as well. But first up, a quick look as to how the markets are doing at this point in time. Well, the markets are trading flat on the benchmark index level. The Nifty is hovering around 18,550 odd levels, up by just 16 odd points. Talk about the Sensex again, 40 odd points of a gain, 62,663, the current level for the Sensex. That's just up about 0.05% in trade right now. The broader markets definitely doing better, with the small caps really rallying 1% or so. The mid caps about 0.5% higher in trade right now. Among the other sectors, well, most of the sectoral indices are actually trading positive. Barring the slight losses or flattish trade that you're looking at in the Nifty Bank, rest of the sectors are actually doing better in today's trading action. The index that's leading the rally today is the realty space with 1.4% gains, followed by gains coming in on the pharma pack, that's again up by 0.7%, the IT that's also up by 0.8% or so. Healthcare index also up by 0.7% as well. Apart from this, you're seeing just about subdued move coming in on the financial services pack. The auto stocks are also in focus, 0.5% gains coming in amid the auto sales numbers that are getting released at this point as well. Let's focus on the top stocks that are in focus in terms of the top Nifty gainers, where you're able to see Apollo Hospitals as the top gainer. Of course, apart from the earnings, a lot of focus coming in on the share prices as well. Divis Laboratories continues its upward trajectory, 2.9% uptick. Bajaj Auto, Hero Moto from the auto pack definitely doing better, post the numbers on the sales figures. HUL from the FMCG basket is also up by 1.5%. On the downside, it's Coal India that's down by almost 5%, and this is on the back of the OFS that has opened in today's trade. Kotak Mahindra Bank, Bharti Airtel, Britannia and ITC, the other laggards at this point in time. But time to welcome our guest on the show as well. Mr. Avinash Korakshakar joins in. He's the Director of Research from Profit Market Securities. Thank you, sir, and thank you so much for joining us on the show. First up, a quick check as to how do you really look at the market and the setup right now. Yesterday, we were surprised pleasantly by the GDP numbers that came about. That has been much better than the street estimates as well, 7.2% for the financial year and 6.1% for Q4. Wanted to begin to understand, what does this fastest growing tag that India has retained for second year in a row really mean for the D Street investors at large?
Yeah, I think Sakshi, I think the numbers which came out yesterday for GDP fourth quarter numbers have been pleasantly positive, and I think that is something which reaffirms the fact that the Indian economy is going on a very strong wicket, much better than what the government of India, that is the finance ministry, had projected during the budget last year. And my sense is that a large part of it has come from the farm and the services sector, which is a good positive sign. Most importantly, it reinforces the confidence of the domestic investors, the institutional investors here as well as abroad. And I think as long as liquidity in the Indian market continues to come in, I would believe that these kind of sentimental news flow boosters would actually re-rate the markets going forward. We are seeing some sort of a correction because of some global headwinds, especially in the US now with the US debt ceiling issue resolved. And most importantly, some further kind of negative news coming from the Chinese markets, that commodity prices have crashed significantly. Obviously, China is a major factor since it's a consumption economy for oil as well as commodity products. So I think in the near term, the markets would be guided by global headwinds. But definitely, I believe that there are many stock opportunities available in the market today post the Q4 earnings season. So I think it's going to be a pick and choose. And I think the Indian economy is going to go from strength to strength, considering the fact that fiscal deficit is also much lower than what the government of India projected. So I think net it's a good positive sign, but the markets would continue to remain volatile. So investors need to take care of that.
Okay, the volatility might still continue on D Street despite these positive numbers. But let's focus on some of the stocks that are in focus in today's trade as well. We saw that the Adani Group of stocks are also trading in, mixed in today's trade. But there's news flow that is important to keep a track of. Now, billionaire Gautam Adani's conglomerate is now looking to raise about $3.5 billion through equity share sale to institutional investors. Now, we've already seen that the boards of Adani Enterprises and Adani Transmission have already approved raising of 21,000 odd crore rupees. That's about $2.5 billion through share sales to qualified institutional investors. Now, the board of Adani Green Energy is also likely to do so by raising about $1 billion in the next couple of weeks as well. How do you see this move? Is this move as a bold comeback strategy from this group that has been hit by the Hindenburg research report back in January?
Yeah, definitely, Sakshi. I think post the Hindenburg issue resolved by the Supreme Court committee, I think now the Adani Group is gunning for growth again, and I think very clearly this news flow about Adani Group companies raising almost $3 billion as new money from institutional investors clearly signals the fact that the growth plans are being relooked again. What is important from the market standpoint of view is if institutional investors show a favored kind of moment for this group of stocks, that would give in a lot of confidence to the market, considering the fact that most of the institutional investors were very negligible in the earlier period. So I think having a large institutional base would definitely be a big positive. And I think at what price the offerings are going to be made, what kind of premium the companies would be issuing these shares would be now more crucial. But I think net, if the group is able to garner this kind of support from the institutional investors, then I think these stocks would definitely get re-rated.
Okay, any particular stocks that you are keeping on your watch list at this point in time? We've already seen Adani Enterprises shares really rallying above 2,500 levels right now. Is the flagship company something that investors should keep on their radar, or the rest of the companies, any opportunities there?
Yeah, I think as far as Adani Enterprises is concerned, it's a holding company, Sakshi. So obviously, it will benefit, quite significantly from the overall, kind of rise in the other group companies. But I think stock specific, we like Adani Ports, we like Adani Wilmar and Ambuja Cements. We believe that these are secular growth stories and they have very solid assets which generate a good amount of cash flow. So I think any dip in the market, if investor gets probably, if the market corrects for some reason or so, I think they should use the opportunity to accumulate these stocks because over the next say couple of years, I think we could see better numbers from all these three companies.
Okay, understood that. Now, another stock that's in focus in today's trade is Coal India. Now, the shares have actually witnessed heavy sell-off pressure in the morning deals. Even now is down by about 4.8% odd. In fact, it has been extending its downward trajectory for the fourth straight session today. Remember, the company has announced the OFS at about 225 rupees per share, which is about 7% lower from the last market price when we had seen yesterday. And the OFS opened today. How do you really look at Coal India shares? Do you see the selling is more strategic as shareholders may be looking at offloading their positions to subscribe at lower position?
Sakshi, normally, whenever companies announce OFS, the trend is that the stock actually attracts a lot of selling pressure because
Okay,
that actually increases liquidity in the market. So my sense is that this kind of selling was not completely surprising.
okay.
Markets were expecting this OFS, but I think from a longer term perspective, somebody has a 2 year view can definitely try to accumulate the stock because coal prices have started moving up. Coal India has taken a price increase from a very long time. Production levels have increased. So I think if you have a long term view, I think you could definitely look at it at accumulating from a long-term perspective. But yes, in the near term, the selling pressure would continue until and unless the OFS is complete.
Okay, understood that as well. The auto pack is again in focus today. What we are seeing in the numbers that have been released so far is that the two-wheeler companies have somehow posted better numbers this time around. The commercial vehicles still are lagging behind. How are you looking at the auto sales figures, initial numbers that have come about, and the whole setup in this sector? How should one approach?
No, I think you're absolutely right, Sakshi. Bajaj Auto reported their numbers for the month of May, and I think numbers have been pretty solid. Clearly, I think two-wheeler sector seems to be now bouncing back, clearly on the back of good urban as well as rural demand. And I
Hmm.
think two-wheeler sector could be an outperformer over the next 6 to 12 months. But I think as far as the commercial vehicle space is concerned, I think investors should not worry. I think there's a lot of pent-up demand for commercial vehicles, and probably in the next couple of months, you could see volume growth coming in strongly again. So I think Tata Motors, Ashok Leyland, these could be companies could also be on your watch list. But I think overall the sector should do well. I think hopefully we have a good monsoon. That could be a further re-rating factor for the sector.
Okay, understood that. Another stock that I wanted to discuss with you is Apollo Hospitals. Now, that's emerged as a top gainer on the Nifty today. Of course, most of the analysts have remained bullish on the growth story. We've also seen the earnings which have come in supportive. Your own sense of Apollo Hospitals from the healthcare pack, how does one approach this stock now after this kind of a 4% move that we've seen today and at 4,808 levels?
Yeah, I think Apollo Hospitals, Sakshi, is one of those hospital stocks which is a very large player in the hospital space. It's in fact it's one of the oldest players, and I think looking at the trend in the profitability records of most of the hotel of hospitality hotel companies, my sense is the numbers have been in line with expectations. The tailwinds also are very solid. In fact, Apollo has also said that its pharmacy business is gaining traction. My sense is that over the next, say, 12 to 15 months, if somebody takes a view on Apollo Hospital, I think a
Yeah.
decent risk can be made.
Okay. So even at 4,800 levels, if you have a long-term view, there's still a lot of returns that can be made on this stock as well. Also wanted to take your view on Laurus Labs. Now, shares have risen about 4% as the company has acquired additional stake in ImmunoAct today. From this whole space, again, healthcare plus pathology space, how do you really look at this space? This space was very, very active during the COVID-19 period. Then came down the lull, and now we are looking at some more action coming in. Laurus Labs in that space?
No, I think Laurus Labs has definitely made this acquisition as a strategic, entry into this kind of pharma business. Most importantly, Sakshi, I think Laurus Labs as a stock has underperformed significantly. It has come down to significantly lower levels, from its earlier peak valuations. And I think they are very close to actually now completing their capex. So I think probably you could see better numbers over the next, say, 12 to 15 months. So I think definitely positive for the company. And I think on a standalone basis, the core business also should do better over the next, say, 12 to 15 days.
Okay. One small stock that I wanted to discuss with you is Suzlon Energy. Now, this stock has recently seen a rise of around more than 52%, rallying from just about 7.5 rupees to 11.5 rupees. In this process, it has managed to surpass the multi-month supply zone as well. I wanted to understand from you, how do you really look at this stock? Does it really warrant any kind of investor interest at these current levels as well? This has been a wealth creator and then a wealth destructor both in the past for investors. So how should one really look at this stock now?
So I think Suzlon has bounced back significantly, largely because of the quarterly performance where they have turned around. They've reported a decent profit after a very long time. But I think what is important to note is that the order book also is pretty solid. That is the reason the markets are very confident, and the stock has almost jumped by almost 50 odd percent. But on the negative side, one should also understand that the company has a very large capital base. They recently issued a 10 rupee share at 5 rupees when they did the rights issue. So I think servicing the equity is going to be a lot of problem, and I think investors should, obviously also looking at booking partial profits here, because I think over the medium to long term there would be a lot of selling at higher levels. So I think one should be a little careful here about these kind of penny stocks.
Okay, understood that. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Gorak Shakar, for being with us on the show and discussing with us the strategies for investors for most of these stocks and sectors that we've discussed. Many thanks for being with us. The markets, if we look at this point, 40 points uptick for the Sensex and about just about 17 odd points of an uptick for the Nifty right now. Flattish trade with a positive bias, but will things change in the second half of trading action, or will volatility really be superseding, when we're looking at this weekly expiry in today's trading action? We'll keep an eye on the market movement, and you can do the same by being with us on Business Today TV. So don't forget to subscribe to this channel and also continue to engage with us on our other social media platforms as well. Until then, thanks for tuning in.
Hello and welcome to Business Today Television. I'm Siddharth Zarabi, and with me here at the Business